National big banks, online banks, or credit unions? Which one do you choose?
Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Philip.
And we teach you what you need to know about your personal finances using words that you can understand without boring you to death.
Because adulting shouldn't suck. If you're new to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and in the comments below, leave hashtag bank emojis, money emojis, or whatever kind of emojis you want to leave. And do that down there in the comments. Yeah.
In this video, we're going to talk about the difference between national banks, online banks, and credit unions, and then try to help you figure out which one's going to be best for you.
Yeah.
So we both have accounts at banks and at credit unions that we use for different purposes that typically adulting requires.
Yeah. When you start out, you're only going to need one bank account, really. But as you get older, you can open up another account. And you might need to, you might not. We'll see.
And we're going to tell you why.
Yeah, we're going to do that. All right, before we get started, we're going to talk about the term bank and how we're going to use it in this video. Bank or banks can be used to describe credit unions, big national banks, the brick and mortar banks, online banks, all of that type of stuff, right? But in this video, we're going to use the term bank or banks to describe the national banks. We're going to use online banks to describe online banks and credit unions to describe credit unions. Just so we're clear, now we can get started.
So we don't need to overcomplicate this. If you're new to banking, we're just going to keep it simple. And if later on your needs change, you can always open up a different type of account or switch banks.
So let's talk about why you should use a bank in the first place. Keeping your money in a bank's a lot safer than keeping the money in your mattress or in your sock dresser drawer. Banks are typically going to be federally insured for up to $250,000 per account. It makes it easier for you to track and manage your money, and it's going to save you money when it comes time to deposit checks or money orders. Other things that you should think about is what type of accessibility does that bank offer and what's important to you. What type of locations do they have? Is there a lot of locations? Are they limited to just a certain area? Is there a lot of convenient ATM locations? Is there online banking? Do they give student discounts for having an account with them that will waive your monthly fees? And is their online banking good? So those are some things that you want to think about when considering getting a bank at that institution.
Some online banking really sucks.
Really bad.
Right? Like
Yeah.
The bigger the bank, the more money they have to develop those apps. And sometimes smaller banks are really glitchy and clunky.
Yeah.
So big banks, also known as national banks, are the ones you see everywhere, like Wells Fargo, Chase, US Bank, Bank of America, and these banks are for profit. They operate to serve their shareholders. They profit billions of dollars every year. They're pretty much everywhere you go. If you're going to go anywhere across the country, they're on like every corner. So they're very accessible. Their apps are usually the most up to date because they have the money to invest in the technology. But you're going to pay for that, right? Because they're big banks. They have more products to offer, more convenience. So you're typically going to pay more money to have a bank account there for your checking account, for your savings account. Their overdrafting fees are typically higher. So they're everywhere. Depending on your financial situation, it might not be the best option for you because if you're getting started out, you probably don't want to pay for your account or you don't want to pay as much money as they're going to charge you for those accounts. So you're going to want to do your research before you just go blindly sign up at a bank. For example, like Wells Fargo. They are scum of the earth. Absolutely garbage. Because in 2018, they got charged a whopping $575 million by all 50 states because they were illegally opening fake bank accounts and charging customers. So I wouldn't recommend that one out of the national banks. There are some good ones. Just do your research.
So let's say you don't need to go to a physical bank or have a physical bank to do your banking. Online banks might be the right answer for you. Online banks offer a lot of different things at lesser fees because they don't have to pay money for their physical buildings like other banks would. Some features and benefits of those online banks are going to be, again, no fees, no account minimums. A lot of the time they don't offer any overdraft fees. They have free ATM withdrawals, and they typically have really good online banking and mobile apps, which they should because, they're online banks. That's like their whole thing is being online. However, some things to think about with online banking is typically it's super easy to transfer money in and out of your bank account, but with money transfers online, it could take up to 1 to 3 days for those transactions to post. So this can cause a problem for you if you needed your money right away, and if you needed to call them or go to them, you can't. I mean, you can call them, but you can't go to them because they're online and they don't have like a physical location. So just some things to think about when you look at online banks.
Part of why I don't use an online bank is because if I have an issue with my bank account, I like to go sit and talk to someone in person rather than call a phone number and try to deal with somebody that may or may not really want to help me. Oh, oops, got disconnected, or sit there waiting for forever, and then I get transferred over and over.
Yeah, I hate dealing with those robots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks. Or you can't understand them. Yeah, no good. Yeah. So with credit unions, think of them more as like Main Street, whereas big banks are Wall Street, right? Big banks operate to serve their shareholders. Main Street credit unions operate to serve the community. So they're more local. You're going to find them typically only in your area. They're usually regional or confined to that city that you live in. Credit unions are going to be typically a lot lower fees to have your accounts because they're not for profit. Any of that profit that they made, they have to reinvest back into the community. And that's through lower fees, lower interest rates, stuff like that. So they're only local. Whereas big banks are going to be everywhere. They're on every corner. But if you go with a community bank, they have a network of other community banks that you can access if you're out of town. But you got to figure out which banks are part of that network. And I think there's like 52,000-ish community banks that are part of that network, but it's up to you to figure out which one when you're on the road. That way you can actually access your money.
So now that we've talked about the different type of banks, it's up to you to pick which bank is going to be right for you. But since you got all that information, you can do that research on your own and you can kind of figure out which bank is going to be best for you. I mean, you can always just get a bank account at the bank that your parents bank at. You know, that's what I did.
That's what I did too, yeah.
I mean, it'll work, right? Just because your credit union isn't at the city that you live in, if you go off to college or something, I mean, it's still going to work, right? So you can probably go with that. But let's talk about what you need to get a bank account, because this stuff is important. Without that stuff, you're not going to get a bank account. So if you're not 18, you need to have your parents with you, and then they will put you on a bank account with them. But you're going to need your state ID. You're going to need something with your address on it. So this could be like a bill if you live out on your own with your address and your name on it. It could be official high school transcripts, or your state ID if that has it on there as well. But lastly, don't forget the cash. Cash is important because you need to put that cash in that account to create an account. It's like $5.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically.
But you also need a social security card.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to open it without that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing.
No
Social
fake,
security
no
card.
fake accounts.
Yeah, that's the thing. Need that.
So Philip and I both, like we said earlier, have big banks, and we have credit unions that we use for different reasons. As we've gotten older, we've needed to use them. Like big banks, we both are in the military, and we travel around a lot, so we need a bank wherever we go. I don't want to have to take time to figure out where my community bank's at. And with my credit union, community bank, whatever, I use that for all my interest-based stuff because my big bank that I use doesn't give the best rates, whereas a credit union gives way better rates. So, I'm not loyal. I'll go whoever is going to save me the most money.
Yeah. I found out, so I had a credit union. It was my first bank account, and then I just had a credit union forever until one year that I went to Mexico, swiped my debit card, and the security feature on my debit card locked it out because it thought it was going to be fraudulent. And, since I was in Mexico, and it was on a Saturday, the banks were closed, and I had to wait until Monday to call the bank and be like, hey, you just left me in Mexico with no money because you guys shut my card off because you thought somebody stole it. And then since then forward, I got a bank at Chase account and a bank account at Chase. And then I traveled abroad again, and it worked just fine. Didn't have any issues. So.
Hey, that time they shut it down, did you let the bank know in advance you were going to Mexico?
Sure didn't.
Yeah, that's why they shut it down.
Yeah, well, that's not what people seem to think about when they're planning a trip. Oh, hey, better let my bank know that I'm going on a vacation.
Welcome to adulting.
Yeah. So, if you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And in the comments below, let us know which bank you think you're going to go with.
And don't forget to share this video with your friends.
And tag them.